Hey everyone, how's it going? Luke from A Taste of AZ. On today's episode, we talk with Chris Malloy. Chris is a local food writer covering everything from new restaurants to awesome cocktail bars. Make sure to follow A Taste of AZ on social media, like the video below, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's jump into the podcast.
Well, dude, welcome to the show. You were on Tap That couple times, right?
At least once. I mean, the one that I really remember was, the backyard tasting. How could I forget that?
Yes, the Mezcal Carreño. That was amazing. These guys are about to do some great stuff too. They're actually gonna be one of the next episodes coming up. So they got some good stuff.
A desert-inspired cocktail series, which is right up my alley. So I will definitely be tracking that down.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Hey, you never know. Crazier things have happened. So take me back. So where did it all start? Like, you being a writer and where did you grow up, first of all?
Oh man, it started at an early age. I've always been really into storytelling and books, from a very young age. And then even in middle school, I was a gamer. I played sports and stuff, but I was always just super into books, like Lord of the Rings. I mean, I probably read that, I don't even know how many times. And then in high school, you progress to the more serious literature. And then by college, it's just reading a lot, writing a lot, taking writing classes. I mean, I just buried myself in all kinds of writing since I was 18. And
did you write before? I mean, did you write early before? Because I know there's my daughter. She'll be 9 in a month, and she loves reading, dude. She'll kill books. Where did it transition for you to be able to? Hey, I want to write this myself.
I think it was in college actually.
Okay.
Really good writing classes, and in one of them, I got a comment from a teacher. I'll never forget it. It said "You are a badass writer." And then the only comment was, "You are a badass writer." And I was like, I think I got something here, maybe,
Yeah.
I ran with it after that. And,
do you remember what you wrote about? What did you write about? I mean, was it the act of writing, or did it have to be something you really liked?
That specific story that he commented on?
Yeah.
It was, wow, this is nuts, but it was a story that, it wasn't a story. It wasn't journalism. It was an essay that analyzed in video game trailers. Sometimes they show no gameplay, and it's all cutscenes and stuff. And it was all about how if there's more cutscenes and less gameplay, the game is more likely to suck. And then I used a bunch of different examples from that time because I was gaming a lot in college,
Yeah.
And I guess he just really liked it,
That's a good point, dude. Because I've thought about that. I'm like, that looks sweet, but those were all the in between.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit, right? Then you get the player and you try to aim the gun and it's just doing this. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yep.
So that's cool. And so just with your style and approach to it, that's what impressed him.
Yeah, I think so. And I kind of developed a specific style from just reading all kinds of weird stuff and, just following my interests to different areas. Yeah.
When you say weird, Chris, what do you mean by weird? Because I know you're not a weird guy, but you are weird.
I mean, I try to do some things that I think are different. I do a lot of adventurous stuff where I'm following people out into the world and trying to create scenes so I can immerse people in the stories rather than just giving them, here's this information about this subject. I want you to be there and see it and smell it and taste it and all that. And I think I've been able to do that. I mean, through a lot of practice, but then also reading writers who write that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what drew me to your writing, because that's how, I don't know if we connected initially through, I don't remember exactly how, because there were so many, I don't have a good memory too. So we'll blame it on that. But I remember reading your articles and be like, man, this is good. This is different. This is a different type of, it was different. And I really liked it, man. Yeah, absolutely. So you're in college and you start to enjoy writing. When did the food come in, and when did Arizona come into the picture?
Okay, so food came in probably from an early age with my grandparents. My grandmother, her parents were from just outside of Rome in Italy, and my grandfather on that side, his parents were from Sicily, so have strong Italian cooking roots on that side, and was always cooking with my grandparents growing up. Yeah. I worked in an Italian restaurant in high school. Actually, I wasn't cooking or anything. I was washing pots in the kitchen. It was the hardest job I've ever had by far.
Still to this day.
Throwing hot
Yeah.
pots in the corner, and I got to scrub like a certain amount of them just to keep up. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for people who work back at the house in restaurants. So there was that restaurant experience in high school. And then once I graduated from college, I ran off to Italy for a few months and worked on some farms and vineyards out there. And just that kind of triggered my interest in, I guess, culture and agriculture a little bit. And from there, I went to up to Boston and grabbed a master's degree in food studies, because by then I knew I wanted to specialize my writing in food. And it kind of all snowballed from there. I came out to Arizona in mid 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of like for a change.
Really, dude, it feels like I met you like 10 years ago.
I know, right?
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've been out here for 3 years, but it feels like at least a decade. And then within, I think, like 2 or 3 months of moving out here, I was editor at the food editor over at New Times, and that kind of like really got the ball rolling with writing for local publications here. Yeah.
Is that what brought you out here? Is that why you? I mean, was that the drive to move to Arizona?
Kind of. I mean, I had before I moved out here, I was vacationing out here quite a bit with Allie, my wife, because her sister went to ASU, and her family eventually moved out here, so we would come out to visit them. And one of the times I came out, I met with some of the top editors at New Times, actually at Barrio Cafe, and actually remember what I ate. I had some nice seafood enchiladas, but
nice.
Doing writing for them, and it was a great talk, and like, you know, good vibes from that, good vibes from a lot of other things, and just decided to kind of like re-roll the dice out here, and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Dude, you've put your imprint on the Arizona food and beverage scene, man. And what I love about it, and we'll get deeper into some of the details of it, but we get the same we're the media, right? But we get the same respect from the chefs and the brewers and all of that. You and I do, right? Because we care to tell the story that, you know, you're definitely a lot better at it, especially with the you know, the feedback side. Because for me, I'm just like, everything's rainbows and butterflies. You know, I don't know, man. To me, that's a slight weakness of mine. I want to be able to give better feedback, but people respect you.
I think it's nice to be like that. I think, like, especially in the age now with the pandemic and everybody struggling financially, I think I'm leaning more towards that kind of approach, where I'm not going to call somebody out on something unless it's something really bad, you know, like people are sneezing on each other in the restaurant, and like, you know, feet apart or something like that. Like, I'm not going to call anyone out. So I totally understand that approach. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, when you talk about a place, you talk about food, like your knowledge just blows me away, man. Like when we were there with the Mezcal Carreño guys, and the questions you were asking, I'm like, I don't even know what some of those words are. I was impressed, man.
The liquor was just working nicely, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What, so when did because that's where I met you, was through, you were the editor for Phoenix New Times, the food editor. So what is that like? What is, because, you know, I don't know, man, everybody's a creator now. Right. And not, I don't want to sound like a grumpy old man, but, you know, everybody's a blogger. I'm like, oh shit, no shit. What's your blog? Well, it's Instagram. And it's like, well, that's not a blog. Like, you're not, so everybody thinks they're a pro, right? They're bringing their unique perspective to things. As an editor, did you get bombarded with people that just like, hey, I've got something, I'm going to do you a favor and write you some stuff?
Yeah, I did a little bit. And I think it was because people knew I was new to the area. And so, like, normally when an editor gets hired, you have a lot of contacts to work with, but like, I didn't really know anybody. And so I had all kinds of people reaching out to me, and I mean, had some great writers. I mean, for me, being an editor was really cool. Actually, my first day of work as the New Times food editor, I missed my first staff meeting. I completely missed it because I went to Wren House to observe them brewing a beer. And I just emailed my boss, and I was like, hey, like, we got to do this story. They were brewing pecan pie wheat wine, a collaboration with Little Miss Barbecue.
Yes.
And I went and checked that out, and I was like, we got to tell this story. This is more important than the meeting. So, and they're like, yeah, you do that. Like, at New Times, you're able to do stuff like that, which is awesome. And I think there was a lot of opportunity like that, being an editor, to get into like some of those kind of like weedier stories. But like for me, over time, I love working with writers and editing, but I'm not an editor. Like I'm a writer first. And like,
Okay. All right.
so just circling back to your initial question. Yeah, I had a bunch of people kind of reaching out to me, and some were great. And I think we, like, for the year that I was helming the section, it was pretty good. And I kind of changed it a little bit, but yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah. You taught me a lot, right? Because I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'll write this. And you were like, yeah, you didn't really get the point across, Eric. You were very nice about it, right? But I'm like, oh shit, dude. Like I was like, yeah, he's right. I did not get that. I was way off topic. But that's the tough part of the job, right? You gotta help people push themselves and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. The best part about being an editor is helping people learn. And like, I've had some great editors out here too. And I mean, a great editor is an underrated thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like they can make my garbage look magical, you know. But then there's times it's like, this is gonna take too long. You need to rewrite this shit.
Hey, I get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You have to sometimes, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What? So you've gotten really in depth with Arizona food and beverage, right? I mean, from going on forages with, Tamara Stanger and Brett Vibber and I mean, and the award, you won an award, was it this past year?
Yeah, there's been a few.
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky there.
Hell yeah, man. So how does it feel when you get an award for something you put a lot of time and heart into?
I mean, it feels good for a lot of reasons. The main reason it feels good is because when you're writing, you want to really honor the people you're writing about. And when you win an award, that brings more attention to the people you're writing about, and they reap the benefits of that. And then also it signifies that you've kind of like properly told their story. So for me, the satisfaction mostly stems from like, doing somebody right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You are telling their story, right? And to capture it. I don't know, man. Sometimes when someone says to me about, oh, dude, I listened to the podcast, that was awesome, man. I'd let my, send it to my kids who live in whatever. It's cool, man. It's cool to get that validation. Like, all right, you're doing something good, man. Yeah. So what's Arizona food to you? Like, what have you learned over the last 3 years of like, what makes Arizona different?
Oh man.
On that side, the food and beverage side, I'd say
There's so much. There's so much. It's crazy. I mean, to me, I think there's so many different things that define Arizona cuisine. So many different groups of people, so many different ingredients, many of which are overlooked. And I think like what's really interesting about the food out here is that you have a lot of forces kind of shaping the cuisine that aren't present in like the northeastern cities where I've lived. Like you have, I think more than 25% of Arizona is indigenous land, and you have Apache influences, Navajo influences, O'odham influences, ingredients like the saguaro fruit, like mesquite. And a lot of this is kind of on the margins. And to me, like a lot of the really interesting things about Arizona cuisine are not really what people focus on. Your average person is going out to like Instagrammable spots or like fast food, like Chipotle like places. And to me, like to really get at what Arizona cuisine is, you got to look on the margins to like, that stand on the side of the road or the Mexican truck that's open super late. Like those kinds of places are where you really get a nice dose of it. So there's a lot of different factors that I think play into like what Arizona cuisine is. It's something that's really evolving, I think. And it's interesting though, because like a lot of the stuff that I've written about in the last few years, about people like Brad and Tammy and how they're pioneering some kind of like new arms of cuisine out here. I wonder how the pandemic's going to affect all that, because it seems to me like if places are really just trying to get by and are facing financial hardship, that's going to stifle innovation, I think, a little bit. And even within the beer scene, I know that like a few of the breweries have kind of pulled back on some of their home run projects and are focusing more on like the core selection, because that's what's going to drive sales a little more. You still have breweries doing crazy stuff. Like Wilderness just released, actually, speaking of mesquite, I think Mesquite Saison, they're dropping this weekend.
I haven't seen that one.
That was a long answer.
That sounds amazing. I was hoping it was going to continue, but no, no, dude, absolutely, man. It's a little bit scary, right? Because, I don't know, man. I remember growing up. So my grandmother owned a restaurant. It's kind of the same thing. My grandmother she's half French, she's half Italian, but the Italian side was like the strong influence. So that Italian food like was just same, man. Same as you. Like I love it. Like, dude, the smell of garlic and red sauce is just like, yeah, I can eat it all day. So she owned a restaurant growing up, and back then, like it wasn't. It was a way to get by, right? It was a way to get by, and now it's a whole. I don't want to say a show, but it's a whole thing. It's a whole brand, which is cool, and that's one of the reasons I really love it, right? But when you're in a situation like now it's like, oh shit, batten down the hatches, and we got to do what the fuck we got to do, and. Do you think that maybe it'll be so you said your concern is a decline in the innovation. Do you feel that will then return even higher than before? Hopefully.
One of my concerns is a decline in innovation. I think it's important to say that my first concern is like the people behind, these restaurants, front of the house, back of the house, making it through and having enough money for their families. That's of course the most important concern. But then one of my other concerns, a smaller one, is like, innovation being stifled a little bit. And sure. I think it will come back, but it's going to be different. I mean, the restaurant world that we knew in February is never going to exist ever again. I think we're going to see chefs pivoting to more to models that don't require so much overhead, like this meat wallah concept. I don't know if you've seen it, but
what is that?
So Chef Singh, the former chef at Blue Hound Kitchen and Cocktails downtown, just launched this meat delivery service. Indian marinated meats made for grilling that he's delivering out to people's houses. Awesome stuff. And to me, like, this is a new model that could really, really do well. I mean, if restaurants, like, he doesn't have quite as much overhead. He doesn't have as big a staff. He's the only employee right now. And his food's great. And like models like that, I think will emerge. So I think the innovation we're going to see might not be so much on the food and like the gastronomic end, if that makes sense, but more like on the business end. I think that could be pretty exciting potentially. But first we have to weather the storm and like, people need the capital to even do anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's scary, man, because I like to, I mean, I don't know, man, in my rainbow colored lenses that I always have, I like to think that, all right, the people who, maybe it wasn't the right fit for them pre-pandemic even, right? Hey, I got into a brewery because it was a good business opportunity. Now this happens, things are tight. They're like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna cut ties, move on to the next opportunity. There's, there's different types of businesses, and that's fine, right? If it doesn't work out for them, they make the choice. My hope is that the people like the Dark Skies. I think of Dark Sky all the time, right? Ryan's running beer, Jordan, the running beer from Flagstaff to Tucson the same day, right? Just to save money on, not to save money, but they're cutting the cost of the delivery, but they're still getting their beer out because those dudes want to make beer for a living, right? So my hope is that I don't know, we get through this quickly so that those dreams can just continue on. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, no, me too, man. Hey, I'm going to give my dog his dinner. He's being a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah. No worries.
All right.
Are you there too?
Yeah. Sorry.
Cool. Oh, no, you're good, man. Yeah, dude, it's so let's say this. So let's say COVID out of the way, right? You had mentioned earlier about Arizona food evolving. Like, what are you seeing evolving? Like, what do you see that is happening?
I think there is more of an interest in some of the ingredients and flavors that make Arizona unique relative to other parts of the world. Late last year, I wrote a guide to the ancient farmed and wild foods of this part of the world. and kind of included these different sections about ingredients and who was using them. And you'd be surprised at some of the people who are using Sonoran Desert ingredients. Like Zach's Chocolate makes chocolate bars with prickly pear and barrel cactus seeds. At the Breadfruit downtown Jamaican restaurant, Danielle Leone is making a jerk chicken sauce with some Palo Verde ingredients.
Ooh, interesting.
It's pretty cool. And there's a lot of wrinkles like that in the food scene that people don't really realize. So I think that was the trend that was picking up a little bit. And that's, one part of the evolution. I think indigenous activists and chefs are gaining more attention. And I've been trying to write about places like, Fry Bread House, which has been written about a lot, but also like Emerson Fry Bread, a great food truck that makes a Navajo style mutton sandwich. And I think, those influences are coming out a little bit more and people are starting to appreciate them more. What else? I think on the drink scene, which, isn't quite food, but kind of is. Yeah. Things are really impressive out here. If you look at sake, mead, beer, even wine, there's really wild stuff going on here. Cocktails too. I mean, we just got
whiskey Del Bach, even, right?
Tales of the Cocktail nominations. I mean, Century Grand, Little Rituals, places like that. You can drink really, really well out here, and nobody realizes that. I mean, outside of the area, people here know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Do you see that changing? The recognition that Arizona gets as I would say a food destination, but being known for its food and beverage.
Do I see it changing?
Have you seen it? Have you seen it getting obviously 3 years is not a huge window, but do you see that?
I mean, I've been eating here for much longer than 3 years because we've been coming out here.
Yeah, that's true.
But, I saw it starting to change a little bit. I think Charlene Badman, the F&B chefs, James Beard Award, kind of reflects a little bit more appreciation in a very big way. But I think, I don't know. I mean, it's really difficult to say. I mean, maybe it was picking up a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, is Arizona about to become like a Nashville or a Portland or a San Francisco? I don't know. I mean, I think at the top end, we have people who in food and drink and hang with just about anybody, but people from the big coastal cities where the big newspapers and magazines are running, don't really know that. And they're the kind of the ones who control the conversation to some degree,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about
now. Give me 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Man, doing this podcast from home is different.
Dude, busy day.
I like the backyard with the sips,
I know. Yeah, exactly. Soon, man. Soon we'll be able to get back into that. Yeah. Well, so let me ask you this, Chris, before we wrap up, where do you want to go with this? What is do you have a vision of what you want to do with your writing?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I want to move a little bit more into the environment and agriculture and look at some of the big questions that we're going to have to answer in the next few decades. How is climate change going to affect our food systems? We have, we're actually rationing water right now in Arizona. A lot of people don't know that. Our Colorado River water supply, we are rationing. And that is going to ramp up in the coming years. And there's these big environmental questions that are going to hit the Southwest before they hit anywhere else in the country. And I want to grapple with those questions, and I'm starting to in some of my work. So I want to go in that direction. I also want to focus more on giving the spotlight to people who haven't really had it before, some of the, the Apache activists I wrote a cover story on and people like that. So I want to spotlight people who haven't really gotten the spotlight and who deserve it. So those are two directions I want to go in. I want to also move into more feature writing, so longer, more intensive, kind of deep divey adventure stories, which is really my favorite thing to write. I mean, I write those and they just totally possess me until I'm done writing them. And they're a lot of fun and people like reading them, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Well, when you say adventure, what do you mean by that? Because you said that a couple of times. And what do you mean by an adventure?
So this kind of keys back into what got me into writing in the first place. And it's story and then adventure. I mentioned Lord of the Rings, that is an adventure story. For me, my favorite writing always has this adventure component where you're discovering something, or you're off in the wild, or you're with some really interesting person, on a quest that nobody has ever been on. I love having an element like that in my story. And I think when I'm trying to convey a message, like I wrote this big water feature about the future of water in the Phoenix area. And I was able to tell the story, I think, in a good way, because I went up and hung out with Chip Norton from Sinagua Malt and was visiting some barley farms with him. And so created this like adventure. You know, we went to the Verde River, and then I was down on Ramona Farms with Velvet Button, kind of cruising around to some of their corn and tepary bean plots. And so there's this element in the story where it's like, yes, we're learning about water, which is this really nerdy subject, but like there's also this adventurous element that is getting you interested in the story.
Yeah.
That answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I felt like I was on an adventure as you were explaining the adventure. So it's like Inception or something, right? No, man. And that's why I dig your writing, because, you know, we want to take a different approach with what we do. And we want to take a unique perspective, you know, I don't know. We want to take a unique perspective, at it, and you want to, like you said, honor the people that should be getting the recognition, right? I mean, it's like, I don't know, that's my big thing, is like, it's not look at me, it's look at them. Like look at what they're doing, right? You say you win an award, and you're like, hey, great, that means I told their story exceptionally well. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. So you had mentioned something too. I'd make sure I write a note. I'm starting to forget things as I'm getting older, Chris. I don't remember how old you are, but I'm 41, so my memory is starting to slip a little.
Yeah, 2 years on me.
Yeah. So you had said a lot of environmental things start here in the Southwest, and you know, with you know, the experience we have in you know, in beer and food and beverage, we see some of the initiatives like Sinagua Malt. But what are some of the other things that maybe people don't know about that are happening kind of here that's trickling it out?
Environmentally?
Yeah.
So the water thing is probably the biggest thing. I don't realize like the water shortages we're going to face as the Southwest heats up and the average annual precipitation decreases. So there's that. I mean, we grow crops out here that aren't suited to the environment. Like, for example, mesquite, which I mentioned earlier a few times, is a tree that was the main source of food in this part of the country for thousands of years. We don't even really eat it. Like, I see it on my driveway. I have 2 mesquite trees at the end of my driveway. I run over the pods when I drive out, you know, to go report a story. And like, we're wasting all that food. And this is a desert adapted plant that can actually thrive on like 2 or 3 inches of rain a year. And so we are not even growing that or taking advantage of it really at all. But instead, we're growing alfalfa and shipping it off to Saudi Arabia, and growing a lot of water-thirsty crops that aren't really well adapted to the desert we live in. You know, you drive some tracts of farmland and it turns green, and you're kind of like, what? Like, the desert's brown, you know? Green, but we're gonna face a reckoning with what kinds of crops we're growing. I think we don't really have a public transportation system out here in the Valley. And I think that kind of contributes to, you know, some of the kind of pollution, haziness you see, and the lower air quality. I think we're going to have to, like, at some point get some kind of, I mean, we have like the light rail, but like a more robust public transportation system for the sake of, you know, reducing carbon emissions and all that fun stuff. And, you know, there's a few other issues, but I don't want to geek out too much.
Yeah. Well, and also I was like, I'm going to start digging into some of this stuff. Obviously,
that's like the biggest story of this century is going to be climate change, and approaching it through food is the way to do it, because it's a way to get people interested in it. And we have to be interested in it. I mean, it's in the time of the pandemic, it's like, do we really want to think about this other crisis? But like, you know, you kind of have to.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I did the podcast with Chip Norton, and I asked him at the end, I was like, so what can a listener do right now? And he, you know, to help. And he's like, drink beer made with Sinagua Malt. He's like, it's easy. Like, you're helping, right? You're drinking beer. So, but that's true though, man. And that's why I think it's been awesome that, you know, the city of Scottsdale, when I did the episode, when they did the water treatment thing, right? They're like, hey, we have this really amazing system that people don't realize, you know, that, you know, they explain it. They're like, if we can use beer as a way to get a few people in and say, oh, fuck, I'll drink it. You know, it's beer.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and so yeah, man, it's really cool because I think you and I have and Luke as well. We're on the same page as far as that's what really interests us about this, right? We're not sitting here, I'm not holding an ice cream cone up to your face and we're taking selfies, right?
I
That's
know,
not. It's not
exactly.
us. We should, but
Honestly, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but to
no.
me, the least interesting thing about food is how it tastes. Like, yeah, it's cool, but like that's just one layer, and I think like a lot
Yeah,
of the other layers are more interesting.
absolutely, man.
If you're a food critic to admit that, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Well, you know what? And here's the thing too. This is something I've dealt with over the last few years. And you maybe have too as a writer, but people, especially when I said, oh, I do a beer podcast for Arizona, like, oh dude, there's only 110 breweries. You're going to run out of episodes. I'm like, dude, I will never, like, I can make 10 episodes out of one visit, like, so it's a mindset. And I think you're the same way of like, how many, there's a lot of stories that go into something, right? Into a dish. I don't know, man. It's yeah. So
1 second,
much
let me
respect,
call back.
man. Yeah.
All right, buddy, come on. Okay, he should be all good.
All right. All right, man. I'm gonna lighten up the mood. That was good information on the climate change and the demise of the human population. But I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. I hope you. I was debating whether or not I was gonna give you a heads up on this question, but
Let's do it.
I'm gonna ask Chris Malloy, my most knowledgeable food friend. What are some suggestions you have for people? What are some hidden gems and some musts for food fans in Arizona?
You're eating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eating or an experience, a food experience, whether that could be in a restaurant, it could be a farm, whatever, like a farm box from Riva Farms. Like, what are some of the experiences you think a common person? Because here's the thing. Let me give you a little back story to this. Because as I'm thinking, most people don't think that we get to have great experiences with food, right? Because we're talking with the chefs, we're talking with the farmers. Other people can have that same experience, but they don't think they can. Right? You can go to Riva Farms website and order your farm box. Then you can go to the farm, to the farm stand and pick it. So what are some of your suggestions for a food experience in Arizona?
Okay. So for me, I'm a big fan of this place called The Stand. It's on the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Reservation, which is
so not the stand on Indian School. I was like,
yeah, it's not the burger restaurant. It's
okay.
actually a roadside stand on the reservation just east of the 101, and I can't remember which road it's on. It's just a few roads in, and it's this actual roadside stand made of cactus ribs and arrowroot, and all of these plants that are just picked up from the land right around where it is. And they make fry bread and menudo and chili stews and stuff like that. And you just kind of eat it outside right there. And you're surrounded by fields, desert mountains, like the big blue bowl of sky. And it's just a really nice experience, kind of like immersed in the natural landscape. So that's a good one. And it's pretty affordable too.
So where's that again? You said by Talking Stick?
Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Reservation, which is
okay.
Yeah, just east of the 101, like it's just east of Scottsdale. It's like that big green tract that you see off the highway,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I also before the pandemic, I was really enjoying this restaurant called Sherpa Kitchen out in Gilbert. It's a Nepali restaurant, but it's not so you think you hear Nepali and you that's that's new for the area. It's actually the first Nepali restaurant in the valley. You're like, oh, it's a novel concept, but it's so much more novel even than that because the chef, his name is Subhash, he is just using Riva, you mentioned Riva, and some other local farmers and their produce to create some beautiful noodle dishes and handmade momos, which is the dumpling he makes. So I highly recommend that place.
Sherpa Kitchen?
Kind of getting up and running, yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
What is that's interesting, man. I like the different types of cuisine. I know you're into just different, all of it, right? Like there's no limitations on Chris Malloy when it comes to food.
You gotta eat everything.
Yeah. Is there something? Let me ask you that. Is there something that is there horseradish? I can do everything but horseradish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, there isn't. It used to be jellyfish. Then I had jellyfish that I liked. Actually, in Scottsdale, at Oh man, I'm blanking on the name of the restaurant. It's that big fancy sushi omakase in downtown Scottsdale. Uh, Shinbei. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
jellyfish has one of his courses, and I had it, and I was like, I like jellyfish now. I think the real answer here, though, is that I actually used to be allergic to a few different foods,
Okay.
including lentils, watermelon, and shellfish. And the shellfish allergy I had was really severe. So I actually like never really had shellfish until I was in my 20s. And I found out I wasn't allergic to shellfish. I got an assignment from a magazine in New Jersey to write about all of the best seafood restaurants on the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
I grew up outside of Philly and was always going to the Jersey Shore and stuff. So anyway, I took this assignment, and this required me to eat at all of these seafood shacks and stuff and eat all of this shellfish, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm actually allergic at the time, but like it's paying me a ton of money. It's a cover story. I'm like 24 years old. I'm like, all right, I'm doing this.
You're like going to deal with the consequences, or were you not going to eat shellfish?
This is crazy. Like, kids, don't try this at home. But I brought my EpiPen and like went to eat like the first, fried scallop or whatever it was. And I ate it like expecting to, like inject the pen, but nothing happened. Nothing happened. And then like I went to another seafood place and ate some other shellfish and nothing happened. So I was like, I'm not allergic to shellfish anymore. And then just like, had a blast doing the story. So like circling back to your question, I mean, like, yeah, there were some foods that I actually couldn't eat, but I like them now.
Yeah. Dude, well, that's dedication, man. Like when you're ready, like you got the pen ready to go. Like,
yeah, when you got to pay your rent and you got to write some stories, it gets really real.
That's true, man. That is true. Well, so did you have episodes as a kid? So that's how you knew that you had that severe allergy? Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's balls, man. That's balls to say, hey, fuck it. We're moving forward. I love it, man. I love it. So where do people find your work? I mean, obviously with Phoenix New Times, but how do people find, some of these articles you were talking about?
Okay. So New Times, you're going to find most of it. That's where I'm the food critic, which is a freelance role. So being freelance, that allows me to write for other places too.
Yeah.
Most of my environmental work is running on a website called The Counter. They are the nonprofit that does journalism kind of in the mold of Civil Eats, which is a more established outlet. But The Counter lets you, there's similarities and differences. But anyway, they focus more on like food and the environment, food and politics, and that kind of thing. So I'm writing more and more for them. And then I have doing a little bit of work for Phoenix Mag. Like that's mostly non-food stuff though at this point.
Okay.
And then some other like here and there type stories. Like I just mentioned Civil Eats. I just did a piece for them. I'm doing a piece for Gastro Obscura, which is Atlas Obscura's food arm. And for that piece, I went on the saguaro fruit harvesting down with the Otham on the reservation down by Mexico and had a blast with a few activists. So have a story there coming out soon and some other publications too. Yeah. I'm pitching a lot and like looking for new opportunities. So it's going to be exciting.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, dude, keep up the good work. I'm a fan for sure.
Well, everyone, there you have it. Another awesome episode in the books, this time with Chris Malloy. Make sure to follow A Taste of AZ on social media. Visit our website. See you next time.